Dan Illman, Matt Bernier, race number 9 on Future Stars Friday is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. The Sentient Jet Breeders' Cup Juvenile going a mile and a 16th for $2 million. Obviously, it's for the 2-year-olds. Let's take a look at this field. It is a classic East-West matchup between two undefeated colts going out for tremendous barns. And we'll begin with the morning line favorite and the horse with the slight experience edge over his main morning line rival. That's the number 9 Game Winner, Matt. Perfect 3 for 3 for Bob Baffert. He's already answered the 2-turn question, and his versatility might give him an edge. There appears to be a lot of speed in this race, and Game Winner can come from off it if need be.
Yeah, I really feel like that's another piece that just it's another feather in his cap. He's proven at 2 turns. He's proven against good horses. He's won pushing the lead. He's won from just off the pace. And like you said, if you believe that this pace is going to be very, very spirited, like it looks like it should be on paper, he can sit just off. I don't have many knocks against this horse. I think he deserves to be the favorite in here, even though there are some other really talented horses, especially coming in for Chad with complexity. But at the same time, I just look at it and say, if he runs that American Pharoah, boy, he's going to be tough.
I'm with you. I agree he's the horse to beat. I picked him second in here. I have to use him in any kind of multiple race wagers with a lot of weight. As for complexity, the number 6, trained by Chad Brown. He's a son of McLean's Music. Chad trained a McLean's Music named Cloud Computing to win the Preakness. This horse has never been headed from 2 lifetime starts. I thought his Champagne was impressive visually, where he just spurted away from that field on the turn and kept on going. I'm not sure about the overall quality of the Champagne, and I wonder if he's fast enough to make the lead with several other speedy ones in here. Can he rate and finish in his first start around 2 turns?
Well, I mean, look, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Because if he can, he certainly fits in here from a figure standpoint. Those 2 buyers that he's earned 95 and 90 in 2 lifetime starts, faster than basically the majority of this field, sans Game Winner. The question becomes, can he sit if he has to, and how is he going to handle the 2 turns? You brought up the McLean's Music piece. That part doesn't really concern me too much. I like the gallop out. I don't have anything really to knock about him other than I think this pace is going to be far and away the most difficult he's ever had to deal with, and how is he going to cope with that while going 2 turns against better horses? It's a lot to be thrown at you in one short amount of time. Timeform
US agrees with you as it pertains to the pace scenario. You'll note by that red bar, Timeform US believes this pace will be fast. They do have complexity out there on the lead. They think he's the speed of the speed. While I tend to agree with that, I wonder if Jose Ortiz is going to be playing the break. If Tight 10, the 4, wants to go, if Well Defined, the 5, wants to go, heck, if Mind Control, stretching out in distance, wants to go, I wonder if in the back of Jose's mind, he's thinking first time 2 turns, first time mile and a 16th. Maybe, I'm not saying he's going to come from 7th, but I wonder if he's going to let someone else take up the running if they are intent on it. If not, he'll take it.
Yeah, of course, and I think that's probably the logical way to look at it. The only thing I would caution at that point, if you are Jose or the connections, if all of a sudden you take this and turn it into sort of you're running Game Winners sort of race, we know Game Winner is capable of doing that. I almost feel like at this point, I mean, look, it's darned if you do, darned if you don't. Do you want to find out if they can do something for the first time on a stage like this? In a perfect world, no. But given the way that he's running those first 2 lifetime starts, no one's been fast enough to run with him early on. It's going to be very, very interesting. That's the only sort of concern I have with a horse like that in a race like this. You're probably going to have something thrown at you for the first time, and at a short price against good horses, that's a little bit of give and take there.
Let's talk about the horses that chased the big 2 in their most recent prep races, beginning with the 11, Code of Honor, who was second in the Champagne. He did a lot of good things in the Champagne. Just consider, he was a gate-to-wire winner. In his career debut at Saratoga, he stumbled very badly at the start of the Champagne, and he ended up last early. He came with a good, solid run to finish second. You have to figure with that race under his belt, he's ready to move forward in his second start of the form cycle. You don't worry about the additional distance for Shug McGahee, but something tells me this horse is going to take a lot of steam.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I kind of feel like he's going to take more money than he possibly should. I think he deserves to be looked at, and I think he's a legitimate contender in here, but I think he should probably be double digits, and I have a feeling he's going to be in that 7-8 to 1 range when it's all said and done. At the end of the day, you can't knock the fact that he stumbled pretty badly out of the gate there in that Champagne, and he was really the only one doing any running from the back of the pack. Now, again, maybe you want to look at that and say that's sort of an indictment on the Champagne as a whole, but I look at it and say Shug doesn't win early out with the 2-year-olds. The fact that this horse went went gate to wire up at the spot, and then all of a sudden he comes back with a good effort in the Champagne. I think there's some ability here, and I think he belongs.
Jerry Hollendorfer has a couple in here, and I think the number 12 Gunmetal Gray is going to run a lot better in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Impressive winner in his first start around 2 turns. No match for game winner last time out in the American Pharoah. Wasn't a lot of pace on that day. He was trying to run down game winner. That wasn't going to work out. This pace might work to his advantage if it is fast. I think Gunmetal could get a piece of this at the very least at a nice price.
Yeah, I agree. I think he can certainly hit the board in here. He's really done nothing wrong. That career debut, I don't want to hold that against him. He didn't love that kickback early on, and he found his best stride late, and it just felt like he was going to be a route horse. They stretched him out, and he won impressively, breaking his maiden. And look, he just got beat by a better horse in the American Pharoah, but you brought up kind of the key to this horse. If you think that pace is legitimate and you believe the Timeform US pace projector, Gunmetal Gray's a horse that can come with a little bit of a belated run.
Dueling for Hollendorfer, very interesting at 20-1. Just consider this horse was favored over game winner in that maiden special weight at Del Mar on August the 18th. He was no match for game winner that day. He came back around 2 turns. Very nice looking performance. Just really appreciated that extra ground. Interesting that the blinkers are going on for Hollendorfer, but this horse should be able to work out just a nice cozy trip, tucking in behind horses while saving all the ground.
Yeah, to me, this is going to be an interesting kind of horse to take a look at. I don't know if I love him on Friday, but I do feel like he's going to be that kind of horse that is a 3-year-old. He might turn into something. Maybe he's not a Kentucky Derby prospect, but look, it's too early to make that sort of statement. I feel like there's a real scenario where down the road he ends up being a pretty good 3-year-old.
K-Nix Go pulled off a 70-1 shocker in the Grade 1 Breeders' Futurity at this distance last time out, beating 3 of these common foes. Now, he got away to a nice, easy lead that day. That's probably not available to him in this spot. Can he sit and finish against better horses? He'll be a good price yet again, and he's got some credentials.
To date, he hasn't shown that he's going to be able to sit. His 2 victories both came in gate-to-wire fashion, and I'm not going to take the fact that he won the Breeders' Futurity away from him, but you kind of alluded to it. He got away, and there was really no other sort of pressure put on him early on, and then it didn't hurt that the horses that were in closest attendance to him, they didn't do a heck of a lot of running either. So I feel like it was just the perfect storm. He's going to take a lot of heat early on if he's going to be in a position like he was in that Futurity. And to be honest with you, I'm not totally convinced he has the kind of gas needed to go that early.
It'll be interesting to see if Mind Control has that kind of gas. Gate-to-wire winner of the Grade 1 hopeful last time out at Saratoga. Now, he was helped when one of the speeds didn't break. Mind Control ended up on kind of a rated but contested lead and finished gamely. I'm sure the connections are just kicking themselves about their fate because they had this horse entered in the Breeders' Futurity. And if you thought he was going to sit second off K-Nix Go and is a better horse than K-Nix Go, there's a good chance that Mind Control would have come into this race with 2 Grade 1 wins under his belt. Now he's going to have to stretch out off a little bit of a layoff. He got sick before the Breeders' Futurity.
Yeah, unfortunately, it feels like even if you think this horse is legitimately one of the best 2-year-olds that's out there, there's just a lot of things going against him. Not only the fact that he missed that Futurity with that sort of little illness, but he's been gone since the beginning of September. This is a long, long layoff, and you couple that with some other big speed in this race. I know he has a little bit of versatility. He doesn't have to have the lead, but at the end of the day, he's probably going to be forwardly placed. I think it's kind of difficult to love him in a spot like this. I can understand people that like him. I think it's hard to really bet him with a ton of confidence.
How about this for a 20-1 shot on the morning line? The 5 well-defined coming off a 91 Beyer speed figure victory by 7.5 lengths at this distance. Oh, and Mike Smith gets the mount. He did get a very easy trip on the lead in the In Reality, but he's run fast now in 2 consecutive races. He's another horse that must prove he can rate against better horses.
Yeah, all 3 victories, or both of his victories, I should say, gate-to-wire fashion. And like you say, boy, you want to talk about tepid fractions. Timeform US had all those in the In Reality down in Florida stakes race, all of them color-coded blue. So there was a real scenario where he's going to be facing the fastest pace of his entire life. He popped back to his left lead at the wire. I don't think he beat much in there. Look, he's 20-1, and you got a 91 Beyer in your back pocket. But to me, he's got to prove that he belongs.
Tight 10, multiple graded stakes place for trainer Steve Asmussen. Showed good speed last time out in the Grade 3 Iroquois. And while the beaten favorite, he finished ahead of 3 next out winners. You could make the argument he's the speed nearest the inside if Ricardo Santana opts to use that speed. I still have some questions about his stamina despite his big pedigrees by Tappet.
Yeah, he was swapping leads down the end of that Iroquois, and I don't know if that was a combination of him getting a little bit tired or him also being a little bit green. I think he's still figuring this thing out. I do think there's some ability here. I do question ultimately, what is his game going to be? Is he going to be best sort of in the middle distances, and maybe this mile and a 16th is ultimately going to be his max, or is he going to be better going shorter at those sort of 7/8 kind of distances?
The 14 Signal Man looks to be going the right way for Ken McPeek. Third start of the form cycle. Didn't have the easy trip that K-Nix Go had in the Breeders' Futurity, but boy, what an awful post position. Hung way on the outside.
Yeah, going to be difficult to overcome that 14 post. You brought up the trip situation. He was in a little bit tight turning for home, bobbled a little bit. I thought it was a fine enough effort. For the most part, I thought it was a solid trip because for the majority of the race, he was down on the inside just saving ground, with the exception of that little bobble at the top of the lane. I think he's okay, but boy, like you say, you're going to have to be so much the best breaking from 14 to overcome that.
Stretching out in distance significantly is the private purchase, the 13 Topper T. This is an Iowa bred, now in the Bill Mott barn. This horse arguably could have been placed first via disqualification last time out at Canterbury, getting floated out all the way at in deep stretch. But boy, his buyers pale in comparison to those of the top contenders, and you got to think he's got to show at least stretch out speed against some tough speed horses.
I'll tell you what, I don't know what the connections are going to do. If I had anything to do with the horse, there would be one mission for Tyler Gaffalione. I would try to clear, because I think that's the only way that this horse can win this race. I think you try to just go as fast as possible, but again, that plays into that Timeform US pace projector where possibly you're looking at a very, very swift early pace. I think that's the only way he can win in here. I don't know if that's what they'll do from the 13 post, but at the end of the day, I will be interested to see what he turns into, because he's run pretty well in all 5 starts.
Mr. Money handled the 2 turns and this track last time out. Really improved performance, going a mile and a 16th for Brett Calhoun. Now he's got to do it again against better horses. This horse, though, has the tactical speed sort of, I think, to draft in the second flight.
Yeah, agreed. I think he's going to be able to come from a little bit off of it. I thought that was just a fine effort. I didn't think there was anything wrong with that maiden score most recently, 1 by 3 3/4. I think there's a real scenario where he does take a step forward. The question is that forward step enough to really be competitive?
Wayne Lucas likes to take shots. Derby Date tried to make a mid-move with a wide bid in the Breeders' Futurity. It didn't work out. Derby Date is still a maiden. I think there's some ability here, but it's just a tough spot.
Yeah, it's a tough spot, but as you may mention, that middle move, that was a legitimate bid that he put in there, and he just flattened out at the end. If you believe that he's going to come from farther off of it and he's going to get big pace to run at, you seized by Will Take Charge. I suppose if you're looking for a 30, 40, 50 to 1 shot, you could do worse than this horse. I think he's still up against it.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Chad Brown's Complexity, getting a lot of the media attention. Perhaps flying under the radar is your top pick. The 8 Standard Deviation, who was just, I think, beaten in the Breeders' Futurity the day they drew the posts. He had post 13, and Javier had no chance but just to drop him way out to the back. He came with a good run to finish 3rd behind the gate-to-wire winner, and I love it when Chad puts blinkers on a horse.
Yeah, if you're looking for a formulator fact, past 5 years, first time blinkers in a graded stakes race for Chad, 4 for 10, 8 times in the money with a $9 ROI. I just feel like, look, on paper, he is very slow right now, and there's no question that he's not fast enough to win a race like this, but the blinkers go on. And to me, it was just more so much about what he did in that Breeders' Futurity. The fact that, like you say, that outside post, miserable. There was really no chance for him to win that race. Also, given the way the race was run, where K-Nix Go just didn't stop. He kept going. And the fact that this horse was very wide throughout and he put in a nice bid, I thought he was the only one doing any running at the end of that race. Look, maybe Friday's not the day for this horse. I have a sneaky feeling he's going to end up being a very, very nice 3-year-old and maybe end up being a Derby type for Chad and company.
But he could get a nice setup to be sure. The price will be right on Friday. He's your top pick. Give me numbers.
8, 9, 11, 6.
Complexity is my top pick. I'm very concerned about the pace, but boy, I've been so impressed visually with his performances in his first 2 starts. It'll be interesting to see where he is going into the first turn. Can he clear off to the lead? Will he let the long shot go and sit outside? I think Javier would take that if that's given to him. We'll see what we get from Complexity. I'm going to use him. I'm going to use Game Winner, who is probably the horse to beat, the most likely winner on paper. Those are the 2 favorites. Those would be my 2 A's and multis. I'll go 6, 9, 5, 12 in the Grade 1 Sentient Jet Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Approximate post time on Future Stars Friday, 6:05 Eastern. Good luck.